without noticing it. Yet it's in these first call chambers that the marital disputes of hundreds of ordinary people are resolved every year. Currently the divorce rate is running at about 180 a month, property settlements and maintenance cases around 150 a month. Last November the court, in response to allegations of secrecy, was open to the public. Yet there have been few interested spectators.
There's been no noticeable increase in members of the general public coming into the court and witnessing what goes on in there. We were a bit unsure what was going to happen when the courts were thrown open to the public, and at this stage the answer to your question is virtually nothing. There has been very few people through here indeed that we're aware of.
Inevitably, the court is involved with children, a fact of life that's underlined by the child minding room in the court chambers. Amended legislation introduced in November greatly extends the family court's jurisdiction over children, although this legislation is still to be tested in the High Court.
Under the previous legislation, we had jurisdiction specifically over natural children or adopted children of both parties. We now have jurisdiction over stepchildren, over foster children, that is children who are ordinarily resident in the household, and also ex-nuptial children, children born out of wedlock.
Will that be a more sympathetic approach? Do you think that'll be...
Oh, undoubtedly. The fact that one court can deal with all members of the family obviously leads to a consistency that is clearly desirable, which simply wasn't there before. The possibilities of injustice have been radically reduced by this expansion of this jurisdiction.
In April, Part 3 of the new Family Law Amendment Bill will come into force. Its most controversial feature, divorce by post.
Certainly it will be a very much simplified process than exists at the moment. What that really amounts to is, though, that from the 2nd of April, those couples which do not have a child under 18 years, and in those cases where there is no objection by either party, can apply to this court in writing to have their divorce go through, and it will no longer be necessary for them to be an appearance by either them or their legal representatives. As a result, there'll be an obvious reduction in cost for those people who would otherwise have gone to lawyers.
But with increased ease of divorce, with the divorce by post, is there a chance then that that's going to degrade the institute of marriage?
I don't think it does, no. I think once a marriage is finished, the sooner it can be terminated, the better. The sooner the heat can be taken out of the situation, the better. The sooner that normal relationships can be established, the better. And anything, I think, that simplifies that process is ultimately to the good. Certainly it's a legitimate criticism that it does appear to reduce the institution of marriage, but I think it's part and parcel of the community attitude at the time. Certainly the community attitude is that divorces cost more than they should, and here is a way that that cost is substantially reduced.
Back in the Junction pool this week, Tabitha Andrianis and Adrian Lee among the weekend pace-getters. They are also representatives in the Australian Age Championships. Tabitha won 3 gold medals at the weekend. Another hunter swimmer, Craig Botcher, took out 5. This weekend, other Hunter Club members will return to Warringah for the completion of the Age Championships, but Sydney is also the venue for the State Open Championships, and the Hunter Swimming Club will be looking for a repeat performance this weekend. The young hopefuls like Tabitha, all this is a build-up to the Olympic trials in February. Until then, swimming will take up most of their time.
The decision for a region-wide strike was made yesterday at a meeting of more than 100 members of the Newcastle Workers' Club. The dispute began at the Red Redhead Bowling Club, where management refused to pay the 4.3% national wage rise on above-board wages. Greenkeepers at Redhead are maintaining a 24-hour picket outside the club. Most of the region's greenkeepers have been given the rise. They have agreed to strike in support of colleagues at a handful of clubs where the increase is not being paid on above-award wages. The date for an arbitration commission hearing on the matter is to be set down later this week. Meanwhile, with the pennants scheduled for February, the bowling clubs are concerned that without attention, the condition of their greens will deteriorate rapidly. The match was played before more than 3,000 spectators, many of them no doubt disappointed in Newcastle's crushing defeat. Gosford went in first to bat and was given a big boost when New South Wales batsman Stephen Smith scored a century. The visitors finished on 3 for 226. At the close of its innings, Newcastle was a dismal all-out for 176. The best scorer in that innings was Doug Elphick, not out for 48. No doubt the presence of players like Trevor Chappell, Stephen Smith, Steve Rickson and Peter Toohey went a long way to help Gosford on the path to victory. But Newcastle's defeat may still have surprised many who had their hopes pinned on the talents of world stars Rick McCosker and Doug Walters. Shortly before 10 o'clock last night, a car rolled over in Kahaiba Road. Before coming to rest precariously on a brick wall, the car struck a gas main, causing a leak. Fearing it was a major burst, Newcastle's emergency services fled to the scene.
What are you doing, Derek?
But quick action by firemen had the situation under control within minutes. A unit from Charlestown and the breathing apparatus van from Newcastle attended. The firemen used soap to prevent the gas from escaping until workmen arrived to repair the burst main. 2 occupants of the car were taken to hospital by ambulance, but their injuries are reported to be minor.
Existing retailers, including those in the Cardiff shopping area, strongly oppose the Glendale development from the start. They believe it will kill business in certain areas and create an oversupply situation in the retail industry. Spokesman for the Cardiff Chamber of Commerce, Mr Gary Marr, is surprised with the Minister's decision.
We feel surprised. We had hoped, really, that the decision would go the other way, but we have had our we have had our opportunity to lodge objections. We have done this over a period of 2.5 years now, but it's a democratic process which the Council has put this application through. It has been decided to go ahead now. So the thing that we now have to deal with Council is that the planning for Cardiff and the planning for Glendale should complement each other rather than compete with each other.
The $35 million shopping development will take place on this site near the crossroads. It will involve extensive road works, and the entire development is not expected to be completed until early 1985. The next stage is for the developers Dalgety Australia and the Hooker Corporation to submit to the Lake Council design plans. This could take a couple of months, but those in favour of the development are keen to get things moving now the initial hurdle has been cleared.
The workshop at the centre of the controversy was planned back in 1980. The MSB produced an environmental impact statement, received development approval from the City Council and spent $1 million reclaiming this site. Now, however, the Carrington Residents Action Group is opposing the development and last night secured the support of the Trades Hall Council to apply a continuing green ban. Effectively, it means, in spite of City Council approval, the $9 million development is now stalled and $4.3 million of job creation money likely to be allocated elsewhere in the state. The branch manager of the MSB, Captain Brian Ramage, says the board followed the letter of the law.
We have followed the normal procedure exactly and to the letter. We've prepared an EIS, we've prepared a development application and lodged both with the City Council. A period of time was set aside for any objections which might be raised, and when that time expired and no objections were raised, the Council approved our development application. We immediately went ahead and started to develop the land by clearing old car bodies, dumped garbage, removed dead trees, reclaimed and rehabilitated the land. And to date, we have expended $1 million.
Doesn't this situation relegate the normal forms of local government to a second-rate position and make the Trades Hall Council the final arbiter of what does happen in the city?
That assumption could be drawn, but I think that you have to look at the processes by which the residents go through. And of course, a further assumption is that all decisions made by council are correct and are in the best interests of the people they represent.
But the developer, the MSB, says that they went through the normal processes, EIS, development application, now it's been stopped. Doesn't it really mean they've got to come here first before they worry about the laws of the land?
No, I don't think so. I think that there were events that happened after the environmental, they went through the process of the environmental plan. Certain things took place in Carrington that mobilised the residents. One was the Toll Chadwick's attempt to get a temporary coal loader in the environments of Carrington. The other one was an almost simultaneous release of the Carrington draft plan by the Newcastle City Council. And really at that point, where previously there had been no organisation in Carrington, those two events mobilised the Carrington residents into an organisation, and they really started to have a look at the area they lived in.
The dispute arose almost 4 weeks ago when the board of Redhead Bowling Club refused to pay its greenkeeper a 4.3% wage rise on over-award payments. Last week, more than 300 greenkeepers in the region joined the strike and supported their colleagues in 10 clubs who aren't receiving the over-award payments. On Friday, Mr Justice Liddy of the Industrial Commission strongly recommended that the men return to work and that the 24-hour picket line be withdrawn from outside the Redhead Bowling Club. Today, the Greenkeepers Select Committee met in the Australian Workers' Union offices to discuss the situation. The men decided to reject Justice Liddy's recommendations and to abide by a decision made at last week's mass meeting to remain out on strike until all clubs in the region pay their greenkeepers' wage increases on over-award payments. AWU delegate Mr Max Redding says there is no need to conduct another mass meeting because the greenkeepers are resolute in their stand.
Yes, the Greenkeeper Section Committee decided to reject the recommendation of Justice Liddy.
Why was that?
It is contrary to the resolution that they moved as a mass meeting on the 11th.
Do you think this dispute is going to spread to other areas?
It could well be. We have already had inquiries from other areas, other section committees, and they are showing an interest, yes.
With the strong possibility of the greenkeeper strike spreading statewide, additional pressure will be on Judge Bauer and the Industrial Commission tomorrow to resolve the 4-week-old dispute.
According to the Regional Education Department, this year Newcastle students have held their own throughout the state.
It would appear at this stage that we've done better than the state average, and I think that's about the third year in a row that we can in fact say that. The students appeared in the overwhelming majority of schools and cases to have done a very good job.
While individual students did well, there were a number of schools in the region where the total Year 12 body obtained very good results. Among the region's top students, Scott Murray of Dudley, who obtained 470. Scott was captain of Whitebridge High last year and is about to depart for South Africa on a Rotary scholarship. Robert Beardwood of Belmont High School received an aggregate of 471 and has his mind set on a science degree at Newcastle University. Also about to embark on a career in the science field, Andrew Giat from Waratah High, who also received 470. Andrew spent the afternoon celebrating with other Year 12 students. For the benefit of students and parents, the Education Department is offering counselling at its Advisory Service Centre in Waratah. The service will answer any questions about results, tertiary education and career opportunities.
This is the vacation centre at Cook's Hill. The girls outnumber the boys here by almost 3 to 1, and they're being physical. Up to 40 young teenage girls attend every day. It's one of 3 vacation centres of this type in Newcastle. They think schoolgirls are still sport-minded. Do you think as you're getting older, you're losing interest in sport?
No, not really. Lots of girls, like some of them, they just like doing themselves up and that, but most girls really like doing gymnastics, soccer, cricket, and all games like that.
Miriam, do you think that girls are not taking part in sport so much these days?
Well, I suppose they aren't, but we like doing it. Like, we come to gym every Tuesday.
But do your friends say to you, why do you go and play sport?
No, they don't say anything. They just let us go and do it.
Well, but on your own coordinator, 17-year-old Angela Jones, and still a schoolgirl, says many do seem to be opting more for makeup than a workout.
Yes, probably older girls are. It's a pity really, because sport does really improve their physical appearance and natural appearance really.
But then again, top swimming coach Eric Arnold at the Junction tells me that in his A-grade swimming squad, the girls outnumber the boys 3 to 1. How does the dedicated state ranking swimmer Catherine Randall feel about Senator Ryan's comments that young sportswomen are disappearing less?
Well, I can quite understand how they feel. They want to doll themselves up and go out more and have a good time, but if you want to get anywhere, you've got to do something, and if I never did any swimming, I'd go to school, I'd go out and have fun, that's all. I want to get somewhere else.
Newcastle College of Advanced Education is changing its direction to keep abreast of the times. Next year, a diploma course in nursing is due to begin, revolutionising nurse training, and this year a graduate diploma in computer education is starting. Meanwhile, in the teaching field, the predictions made 3 years ago are coming true. The publicity about an oversupply frightened many would-be teachers away from the profession. Now the tables have turned. The Newcastle College of Advanced Education is encouraging students to enrol in industrial arts, mathematics and science courses.
About
as the
80%
principal of the
of
college,
the year.
Dr. Eddie Richardson explains.
There's now very, very clear evidence of a real shortage of industrial arts teachers, mathematics teachers, teachers of chemistry and physics. The evidence has been there for some time in the sense that industrial arts graduates from this college could get jobs in Queensland, could get jobs in private schools. This meant the shortage sooner or later would go into the state schools. It's now there.
The full force of the storm was felt at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Hailstones covered the ground, making driving hazardous, and tree branches were swept onto the roadway like twigs. In Lookout Road, New Lambton, the owner of this house had a very lucky escape. The tree was struck by lightning and fortunately fell onto the footpath below. The tree dragged a power line with it, but rather than break the wire, the force of the fall bent the steel power pole. The police rescue squad also attended a number of houses where damage was reported.
The dredging of Corrie's Beach has been underway since last week. A private contractor is moving sand 3 kilometres up the coast, where it will be used in a Public Works Department plan to stop large-scale erosion of Jimmy's Beach on the Wyndha Whopper Peninsula. That erosion threatens the roadway and nearby houses. Local fishermen protested the move at a meeting last Friday, saying the dredging would threaten the annual mullet catch, which runs from March to June and provides fishermen with 75% of their income. A meeting with Public Works was organised for today, and as a result the contractor will speed up the work in an effort to have dredging finished before the mullet travel. If that fails, all work will stop at the first sign of the run. Fishermen are very happy, saying the agreement will prevent a clash that would have destroyed the industry in the Hawk's Nest, Tea Gardens area.